Hey, everybody. Hope and pray that you're doing well today as we come to our word from the word. And today, that word is distinction. Distinction. You know, when you have something that is distinct, it's different from everything else. It is set apart from everything else. It is, in this case today, above and before everything else. We've moved on to the book of Colossians. And as Paul is writing here, there's a lot that he's saying to the church at Colossae to begin with. And I encourage you, as always, read this whole chapter so that you can see. You can, there again, you can read this whole letter in a very short period of time. So you can read that to get the whole picture. But I really want us to just dive right in today and look at what I love is my Bible. My Bible entitles this the preeminence of Christ, and that is the distinction, right? That dominion that he has over all things. And as he's talking about when he mentions Christ, that we have redemption through Christ, he goes into a wonderful description of the reason that Christ is distinct, the reason that he is above all. And so for that, I just want us to dive right in today. Colossians chapter 1, and we're going to look at verses 15 through 20. He is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creation. For by him all things were created that are in heaven and that are on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions, or principalities or powers. All things were created through him and for him. And he is before all things, and in him all things consist. And he is the head of the body, the church, who is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, that in all things he may have the preeminence. For it pleased the Father that in him all the fullness should dwell, and by him to reconcile all things to himself, by him, whether things on earth or things in heaven, having made peace through the blood of his cross. You just that reading of that, I get excited about all the things that started and end with Christ. He's before all things. There's not a thing. We see that from John chapter 1 as well. There's not a thing that's ever been created that didn't come from Christ. That's he was there in the beginning, and he is still there today. Something it is hard for us to wrap our minds around, but yet we can believe by faith because he is God. He is to have preeminence. He is to have distinction. Now, that last part too is it is all by the blood. Did you hear what he said? Having made peace through the blood of his cross. We have peace with God. He made peace with us by way of the cross. See, the shed blood of Jesus, that's how we know that he was a substitution for us. That's the only way that we can have peace with God through Jesus Christ. If he was suffering for some other reason that didn't include us, we would have no way of having peace. That's some from even this past Sunday. We have to be weary and be watching for those false teachers and false teaching that would try to say anything else or put down the blood of Jesus Christ. He was substituted for us in our place. And because he died in our place, we can have peace with God if we have faith in Jesus Christ. Otherwise, we are spitting on the gift that has been given, the blood that has the power to save everyone, but is only applied to those who have faith in Jesus Christ. Now, to look at Jesus Christ as he's saying all these things, he says everything, invisible, visible and invisible, dominions, thrones, it doesn't matter. There is nothing, and there is no one in power today that has not been given that power by God. Not a single one of those have been given anything except through the power of God that was in the fullness of Christ. Now, just to stop and think about that there has been nothing and no one in power even now. Even as we look across the world today and we question the things that are going on, many times we would look and say, God, are you not on the throne? God, do you not see what's going on? He sees. The thing that we have to remember is that sometimes those that are in power, that maybe are inflicting bad things, are actually being a tool in the hand of God, a tool of not necessarily destruction, but a tool of judgment at this time. We see that throughout the Old Testament, that Israel's enemies all the time were being used and allowed to have that power over Israel because of punishment for sins that they had committed. Now, the reason I say all of that is to say it all goes through Christ. It all goes through him. That's why I love that he begins this letter. He's going to try to encourage them in some things, and he's going to try to guide them in their walk and tell them again that they need to walk worthy of the calling that they have. But we will never walk worthy if we don't understand how distinct Christ is. And then as we follow his example, we too will be distinct and have a distinction from those around us. So today, think about this. As much as Jesus Christ stands out in the history of time, think about how his ministry and everything that he did stood out from everything else that had ever been said or done. That's a picture of how you and I should also stand out as we represent Christ to the world. Come out from among them and be ye separate. We too should have a distinction. God bless you, and I pray you have a great, great day.